All right, so first question we're starting off with, offering
Number
your
two.
opinion on the key ideas in common between integration, transfer, and conceptual blending. Um, First off, we just define those terms just to make sure I know what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
I think integration was that first article, like how great leaders think.
How success how
Yeah,
successful leaders think.
yeah, and I think they kept coming back to the thing of like the ability to hold two disparate ideas in your mind at the same time and be able to
For
find,
integrated thinkers.
yeah, integrative,
Yeah.
like hold those two disparate ideas in your head at the same time and kind of bring them into dialogue and create something new out of them. Is that right?
It says integrated thinkers seek a problem as a whole, examining how its various aspects affect one another. So yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's
So that's that. Transfer was the one we just did
yeah.
yesterday. And that's kind of like
Yesterday.
the epidemiologist guy, right? Like taking knowledge from one area and
And transferring it to another area. Yeah.
yeah, like
Something.
taking the abstract concept and applying it somewhere else. And then blending was the one I was kind of confused about.
Yeah, I didn't understand blending.
I didn't really get how blending was different from, say, integration or transfer. Because again, blending, it seemed like they were saying,
It was kind of like, I think they were trying to think that like it's like a mixture of both. Like it's like a word for you to, if you're trying to transfer, you can blend. You know, uh, that's how I was thinking about it. But it was
yeah,
like a combination of both.
yeah, because wouldn't integration and blending be similar? I'm thinking about the example that they used in the How Successful Leaders Think of, what is it, Bob Young, the red hat guy, how he took
Mm-hmm.
the two models, like the service model and the product model, kind of blended them into something new. So to me, the blending kind of sounded like a subsection of integration or a part of the process of integration. Um, and so, what do they all do to innovatively solve a problem?
Well, you use integrated thinking, you know, to solve a problem. Really, that's the main, idea about making sure you fully understand the problem, and then find relative solutions towards the problem.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because it's what was I trying to say? Um, yeah, like well, all of them seem like it's innovative because you're fundamentally trying to come up with something new that wasn't there before, like
Mm-hmm.
with integration, and integration also being kind of innovative in that it gives you a, like they even listed out a process for doing integrative thinking. It was like find salient features, analyze causality, something else, and something else. I don't remember exactly, but but that allows you to break something down into its component parts, look at them all at the same time, and come up with something new. That's kind of what transfer too. It's just giving you a new lens to look at something through, like a new mental model. So to me, I guess the innovative part is that you're coming up with a new idea or like a new way to solve the problem, like that epidemiologist guy, by using transfer, has like a completely new lens to look at the problem instead of the same lens, which is like
Yeah.
the punitive one, which is just let's punish, let's find new ways to punish. So I guess to me,
So, what would you say your definition of blending is, or your idea of blending?
yeah, I'm still a little confused on how to fit blending, just exactly what the difference between blending is in regards to integration and transfer. But to me, what they all do to innovatively solve a problem is give you a kind of a new lens to look at the problem through, so that you're approaching it in like the non-obvious way.
Yeah, it's like outside thinking outside the box kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, approaching it with like a different set of eyes to come up with. Um, it also just helps you ask different questions, I think. Like if you're trying to use transfer, like if you want to get a good answer to a problem, then you have to be asking a good question. And it seems like kind of fundamentally, all these things are helping you ask better questions. Like I'm thinking, again, in terms of that epidemiologist video, once he looked at the problem through the lens of it being a disease,
Yeah,
he had like three new questions that he could ask. Like, who are the, I can't remember the exact terms he was using, but like, who are the vectors? And how can we disrupt transmission? So we had like all these different questions you can now ask about the problem.
yeah.
So that's, I guess, a big one that I was seeing was getting new questions to ask. Did you have anything to add to that question?
Let me see. So I would think like integrated thinkers would use their complex, knowledge and understanding of the material to, come up with a solution. Yeah, and then transferring. Um, I like how you use the word, like how you were saying, like yeah, like the new lens to look through.
Uh-huh.
Like you, like that's a good way of thinking about it. Looking through it in a different way, or like outside thinking or something like that can help you determine that.
Yeah, or a word I heard in when I attempted to take this same class, but in like the 200 level. And I say attempt because I didn't make it through. But one of the first lessons was talking about something called mental models, which is kind of what they're talking about in some of the readings where you abstract a concept so that you can apply it somewhere else. So like you have the mental model of an epidemiologist, and now that you have the model, you can apply it somewhere else. Or you have the mental model of, let's say, maybe in the studies you do, like the mental model of an economist.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to look at the problem? So that you can just kind of start building up this repertoire of mental models that you can just switch out like lenses to look at the same problem. Which I guess would be transfer, a sort of transfer. Um, any other thoughts on number 2?
Conceptual blending. Those are mostly my ideas, just like, switching the lens, just transferring. But transferring and blending are kind of similar, because you both are, switching the lenses, but, blending is more, making the two concepts come together versus transferring. It's like, different ideas, different people coming through,
Yeah.
different evidence. So
Yeah, or
it's
maybe
a lot.
Yeah, or maybe like transfer is something you use to help you blend ideas. Um, but I don't really have much more to say than that. I might need to read more about rewatch the blending one, because that was the one that was a little more uncertain to me.
Yeah. I'll maybe have to rewatch that too. Because it was mostly just the video on the blending, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right then. So the number 3 is discuss together why these skills are important for human beings. Different ways to think about this include yada, 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 these 4 examples. Um, let's see, what do they allow us human beings to do? Well, I guess it gives you a lot of flexibility, but trying to think where this shows up, what examples I might have in my life where I get to see these things. I guess I think one example that's just naturally transfer is just quotes. Because I really love having quotes that I can apply to different situations, because I think it's just an easy way to let, smarter people than me
Yeah.
offer me a perspective on whatever I'm doing. And those in themselves are kind of like a sort of mental model. Like some people, it's scripture, like their religious text. With some people, it's philosophy or whatever books they read, or famous historical figures. But like I really like this method of thinking called Stoicism. It's like a philosophical strain from, I don't know exactly when. I think it started with like the Romans or some shit like that.
Mm.
I really like having like a repertoire of quotes, because those are something that, the quote originally might have applied to this person's like specific moment in time or what they were doing. But you can apply it to a lot of different situations. You can transfer it to a lot of different situations. And I feel like that's something that's helped me in personal and professional life. If I come to a tough decision, or I'm struggling with something, then I can kind of pull up a quote and apply it to that situation to kind of give me some perspective.
Mhm. For me, I like to, use it to like a real life situation, like what's going on in the world, with this pandemic and stuff like that. People gotta, you gotta, everything's changing by the moment. People are, have to transfer ideas. People have to, understand what's going on, make the sacrifices that they need to make in order to, help their family or whatever the case is. So I feel like just making sure you're able to do the things that you need to be doing and helping people out there that are suffering could be, good ideas of transferring and using your ideas and better understand them.
Mhm. Yeah, the current situation is so tough, but I feel like it must offer a ton of insights into the idea of integrative thinking, because it's just presenting us with an extraordinarily complex problem.
Mhm.
The problem being actually like an amalgamation of hundreds of problems, all like,
Yeah, all just happening at once.
and being really interrelated in terms of, you have to stop the spread of the disease, and you also have to manage job loss, and you also have to manage like political unrest, and you also have to manage how this is changing the structure of our government, and like what powers the government is now being able to use, what they're trying to leverage. And so I feel like integrative thinking, I don't know if I'd really have something very sophisticated to say on the matter, but it seems like you'd need a lot of integrative thinking
Mhm.
to try to handle all these problems at once. Or I guess break them down to component parts, but see how they all fit together as a whole. Um, I'm trying to see where else I see these skills coming into play in my own life or in the lives of others that I know, in terms of integration, transfer, or blending. Um, Actually, one interesting one is I have like what was I going to say? I guess a place where I see transfer that I learned from oh, sorry, my audio's freaking out right now. Are you still there?
I don't know what's happening. Service is not good.
Okay, I think we're back. I guess a place where I've seen transfer in my life is learning how to read literature, because they teach you how to approach a text from um, a certain standpoint at a time. So you'll read a text and you'll say, this time we're going to do let's say, a feminist critique. We're going to look at this from the viewpoint of how women are affected in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But then you might read it again, and then we're going to do a different kind of critique, perhaps like a racial critique. Like, let's look at how people of different races are being affected and what we have to say about this. Then you'd put another one on. I feel like that's something that's helped me, I've been able to transfer to other parts of my life. Saying, like, I'm going to look at this problem through a specific lens right now, instead of trying to do it all at the same time. It's like, I'm going to look at it just from the point of view of, like, how are these people affected by this event?
Mm-hmm.
What would these people have to say about this event? I feel like that's been a useful area of transfer for me, and it helps me kind of give a little more direction or structure to trying to solve problems in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense with the literature and stuff. But I guess me, I don't know, like on a day-to-day lifestyle, I see, you have to adapt to different circumstances with who you're hanging out with and what we're doing. And you have to, you might not get along with everyone you're hanging out with or like at work, stuff like that. But you have to learn how to adapt and just be able to, understand and, get everyone where they're coming from, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And I thought it was interesting. Like, because I think I might end up teaching someday, like not in the near future, because I want to go live a life outside of teaching first and work different jobs, travel as much as I can, all that kind of stuff, go find myself, yada, 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 etc. I could imagine myself settling down when I'm older, like in my 30s, and teaching. And so I really love the article that was talking about how to apply these things to teaching and to classrooms and to educators. And this idea of how to teach transfer to students and how the system is set up right now, according to I didn't actually look into the studies that they cited, but according to the studies that they cited, that transfer isn't naturally happening. So I definitely want to look more into that if I ever end up going into teaching. And it seemed like the main way there's just like asking the kids the right questions, trying to ask, how does this apply like outside of this subject matter? Or I wonder if part of the problem is, at least in my high school, where I feel like I did not have a lot of teachers that were teaching in a way that would help us transfer information, is because
I just felt like they just gave us a bunch of busy work in high school, and they don't really like let us expand on our ideas. Morely, just go through the basic ideas.
Yeah, did you just have to memorize a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, just memorizing and just just passing the stuff just to take the test and get a good grade.
Yeah, and that's what I guess they were talking about, that like inert knowledge, because I have all those facts in my head, but once I left that particular subject, I'm not gonna carry them with me anywhere. Like everything I learned in biology, I'm not gonna apply anywhere else other than having some facts in biology.
Unless you're really pursuing that field, becoming a researcher or something like that, it really doesn't have that much, knowledge.
But
I feel like what this is what's good about these classes, like you can use these, information and these terminology in your everyday lives, even in your workplace, whatever you want to get into. It's just making you a better person and just understanding and being able to relate to other people and understanding where they're coming from.
Yeah,
That's where I'm getting the most out of this. It's just I can be able to use this in my everyday life, my workplace, when I eventually work.
yeah, I completely agree. It's helping me learn to solve problems more effectively. And that's what, when I look back on my high school education, a lot of it kind of seems like bullshit because everything I learned, most of the stuff I learned, would never be valuable outside of learning more about that subject matter. So since I didn't go into becoming a mathematician or a biologist or an economist, it's like all that knowledge didn't mean anything. So I was happy to see that there's people talking about how to add teaching for transfer into education, because then even if I don't become a biologist, maybe something that class taught me how to look at problems in a way where I can apply these concepts outside of biology. Even if I never do, it's just valuable to know that that's possible. So I think it'd be cool in my future to be able to try to learn more about this and design a classroom where it is about more than learning about the subject, and it's about learning how to think critically and how to apply what you learn in other places. And I wonder if part of the problem is standardized testing. Because
Yeah, because you have to make sure they fit the standards.
yeah, and you have to be able to pass the test, and the test has nothing to do with transfer. It's just memorization for the most part. And so if you have to teach for a test, then you're just going to be, you might be missing out on other types of questions to be asking, because a standardized test, is never going to ask, how does this apply to a different field, or how does this apply to current events? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to keep learning about it if I ever go into teaching.
Yeah, so spin your ideas.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to add to 3?
I think we're good on that.
Okay. So then number 4, discuss what we think the big point of this week's content is, what was important about it, what was the best summary that we could give. I think one of the main takeaways I got was that this is something you really have to work for. It's like a conscious process to do. I guess what terminology they were using was the high road transfer,
Mm-hmm.
where if I want to do this, it's something I'm probably going to have to put real effort into. Like looking back on my own education, I can tell that I wasn't trained to do this based on how I was taught in middle school and high school. So if I want to be an integrative thinker, or I want to do these like the high road transfer or whatever the terminology was, that's something I'm going to have to kind of work for and take like considered thought to to go through the questions that I think I need to answer to solve this problem particularly well. It's not so much just going to probably happen naturally just if I keep consuming information.
Yeah. What I got out of this week's material is I like the idea where you're bringing the effort in, because that's also something that I've been, thriving lately, is putting more effort in. And yeah, with the integrative thinking or with the transfers, it's all about, you know, how much effort you're really putting in, how much ability you're really understanding. And you can, because I think the best way to be, if you really understand the topic, you can be able to teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
and that's the best way to understand the material is and like with these Zoom meetings, I also, learn a lot, with your ideas. And then when I bring some
Mhm.
other stuff to the table, that's a help, like a great resource,
Agree.
to help other people. But yeah, I also think, yeah, it's just, you really gotta, put the effort in and understand the material and make sure you really, I think I need to read up a few more things because I'm not familiar with everything in this material, but
Yeah.
I I I get most of it.
Yeah, I really did enjoy the readings. And I think
Mhm.
along with it being a conscious process, another thing I took away, especially from the article about transfer that talked a lot about education, is that there's just a lot of missed opportunity, I think, in the educational system. And
Mhm.
probably a lot of knowledge that kids are getting that is ends up becoming kind of valueless or worthless if they just, store up a bunch of facts about something, but then, 5 years later they forgot all the facts and they didn't actually learn how to think in that class. They just went through the motions and maybe got a good grade, and made me wonder if maybe we just need to restructure lower education. Like maybe it'd be kind of cool if you could have more classes in high school that are similar to classes in college. You know what I mean? Because like in college you don't have, well, I guess like gen eds, you might have a class that's literally called like biology,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more classes that are a bit more specific. You know what I mean? That'll naturally drop on multiple perspectives or subjects. Like you could do like uh like the ethics of biology. You know what I mean? Like classes like
Mhm.
that, where it's like now you're not only need to know the biology, but you also need to know how that biology applies to, you know, politics or um, stuff like that. Like if there'd be room for more classes like that in high school.
I just think, yeah, just be able to interpret, what you're learning, like that was the biggest thing I gained, is just be able to understand what you're reading and be able to, help others with it. It's something that you need to, like, that's the biggest takeaway I've got from this week is just understanding of the material and basically transferring it or be able to, to other people. That's the, really important.
Mm-hmm. True. Right. That's the big picture question. Um, okay, well, I guess that goes through it.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess now it says discuss when your next meeting time will be. I mean, frankly, for me, this is the best time.
Yeah, 10 to 11.
Um, so I kind of say we just maybe keep checking in with the other people in our group and make sure maybe a little more ahead of time that they can be here, because I don't want them to have to keep taking grade deductions.
Hmm.
Um, but I'd be good with doing this again next week, same time,
Okay.
if that worked for you.
Yeah, it works for me pretty good.
Cool. Um, all right, then I think we're good then. I'll stop the recording and I'll get a new link up again for next week's meeting in our announcements page
Okay.
and find a way to get this up to YouTube again.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.